Hello there, folks. Kirk and Jay back with Kirk Giordano Plastering. Last week we said, because we're all bored in quarantine and we're in the same boat together, we can't go to work, we got to stay home. I said, if you have some questions, just go ahead and post them on that video I did. I didn't expect 400 questions, but I answered them anyway, and I answered them both in the description and in the comment section because they seemed like questions that needed to be answered immediately. So I did it. It was like 400. It's like, wow, that's the most ever. Hope that doesn't happen again. But anyway, I'm going to answer a few of the main questions because I promised we'd do that, and we got nothing better to do. So anyway, cracking. And I'm going to show you guys something. You know, with what we do for 40 years, there's a lot of stuff that people do often. Then there's a lot of detailed things that only hospitals, schools, or hotels want. So I'm going to avoid all that tricky stuff and just go to the simple stuff. All right, guys. Since we show you guys how to do it yourself, this stuff here, well, no, I'm going to enlarge this one right here. You see this, guys? You see this down here? Okay, this is a color coat over another finish coat. Or you could see it here where it's a color coat that's coming off of another one and there's no weep screed. And so because he has the dirt right next to the house, he says water's getting inside the house. Okay, this is a typical question that a lot of people have. I'll answer it, try not to get too crazy and too detailed, but what he has is a color coat maintenance-free finish, like a brick. When it gets wet, it darkens, so that lasts forever. Why is it coming off on the bottom? Well, the ground is sloped wrong, because I talked to him, and he says it's sloped this way, so the water all goes toward the house. That's a big no-no. And he says, well, should I break out the stucco around the whole perimeter of the house and put in what's called a weep screed, a drip screed, same thing? And I said, no, man, I wouldn't do that. I used to have a house, and it was a stucco house, and the stucco went all the way to the ground. Here's why that happened. Back, a little bit of history, back when we first started plastering, when I was just an apprentice working for my buddy Sam Hoff 40-something years ago, we used to take the stucco all the way down to the ground. But then a code came, and the code said, guys, from now on, we're going to use a weep screed or a drip screed. That's a piece of metal that goes onto the mud sill all the way around the perimeter of the house, and it protects the plywood and the mud sill. And it also gives the benefit of expansion, because a lot of houses expand, then restrict, and that's what causes cracking. So to get off of that and back onto what we have here, no weep screed or drip screed, same thing. I told the guy, I wouldn't worry about that, man. He says, well, I've had people say, tear all the stucco off and put another coat on. And I thought, really? That's a lot of overkill, guy. That's not necessary. So my explanation to him was, and this is in the comments, I put it in there. I said, for you, if you have a pressure washer, take a pressure washer and go around the whole perimeter of the house. Just paint the whole house. It's simple. It's that easy. And he wrote me back. He says, well, that's not what I've heard. Well, you can call 10 people. You'll hear 10 different things. But that's all he's needed. Why? Because the color coat here, this is a La Habra, and it's called crystal white, the color. So if you remove some of the loose stuff, you have the same texture underneath. So pretty much you can use a good quality paint like Sherwin-Williams and just prime and paint it. And he says, man, that's a big relief, because they told me I needed to tear all the stucco off and put a weep screed or a drip screed. No, you don't need to do that. And the reason well, he's got a lot of cracking, guys. I've done several videos about cracking. Now on cracking, I'll put in the comments, I'll just put a video I did, because I can talk for 4 or 5 hours on just cracking alone, guys. I don't want to bore you too much with that kind of stuff. So that'll be in the description. Anyway, when it rains, house lifts. When drier conditions occur, it settles. And that causes cracking, along with about 100 other things. Remember this about cracking, guys. Vibration causes cracking. That's sort of like kryptonite to Superman. Not good. So cracking is pretty usual. It happens all the time to stucco and concrete. That was one of the main questions, and it's one I'm asked the most often. So I thought I'd share that with you. Another guy, he says, "Oh, Kirk, what's your biggest mistake in all the years you've been plastering?" I thought, you want me to humiliate myself, embarrass myself for your entertainment? Fine, I can do that. 3 things happened. Well, one of them was we got a flash flood. We're plastering a big wall in the backyard. The guy had some beautiful tile, and we had to walk up like 20 stairs. And we did this, the first coat, the second coat. We were almost done. We were ready to float it. Flash flood. The sky grew dark, and it started pouring down rain. And the house had no eaves for protection. It was parapet. That just means there's parapets. There's nothing to protect it. And then, wouldn't you know, it was on the southwest side. It washed all our stucco off about 10 wheelbarrows. So guys, that's the biggest thing. You'll learn that. If there's a chance of rain, don't do particular things with stucco if you're on the outside. 2 other circumstances I have which were humongous mistakes were about 26, 27 years ago, we did a maintenance-free acrylic color. And the guy said, "Kirk, you know I'm paying a fortune for this scaffold. Can you go ahead and apply the color finish?" I said, "No, man. It might rain, and an acrylic takes like two days to dry." It was like, "Come on, Kirk, it ain't going to rain." And I fell for it. And we color coded it. It took 6 guys, maybe 11, 10 hours. I mean, it was a long job. And it rained 2 days later. And guess what happens? Downspouts weren't on, so it hit the plank surrounding this 2-story house, and it washed a lot of it off. Was that bad enough? No. Back in 2010, I did the exact same thing. I called down to a material yard, and I said, "These people want this, but I don't want this material." They said, "Kirk, that's new and improved. That won't happen again." I said, "Are you sure?" And sure enough, I did it. And these people said the same thing. "Kirk, come on now. It's been a month now. We need the scaffold out of here." And being goofy, it's one thing to make a mistake one time, but I made it twice with one material. So I put this synthetic acrylic on. Same thing, synthetic acrylic. It's just colored stucco with paint and sand. Anyhow, a day and a half later, it did drizzle, and it bleached the color. Now, one thing I'll say about this, guys, is on the first one, that was my mistake. On the second two, that was mistake of believing in a company that just because it's has some products that are some of the most famous in the world doesn't mean they make great acrylic product. While I'm on the subject of great acrylic products, guys, because that's where I took my 2 biggest hits in business. Drive It, BMI, Stucco, Flex, Carson's, Stowe, all of those make great acrylic products. And the one product that I used because they wanted it, because it was close by, next time I would say, like I did to these guys, sign a waiver, because I'm not putting on that. In fact, I'm not putting on that product no matter what. So the acrylic products I just mentioned, they're the best, guys. Top of the line, you can't go wrong. Even if it had rained that night, it wouldn't bother these. They're great product. Okay, we had another question by my friend Jerry Pozo. Jerry Pozo is a representative. He worked for Drive It for a lot of years. He worked for Cowply, their material yard located in Hayward. They do it all. They got it all. That's Cowply. And then he worked for BMI, which we've done a lot of work, and we've used a lot of their product. So Jerry says, "Well, Kirk, seeing that we have all this downtime too, and I'm retired, how do you get that dual finish with, say, the veneer?" Veneer is lime putty, and they crush the veneer, and you apply it. Venetian is the difference is marble, crushed marble with some lime and different all the other things. Well, Jay and I did this in video quite a while ago, and while I was finishing this, Jay says, well, Dad, I'm going to put some red up on here just for the heck of it. And I said, go for it. Do whatever you want. So Jay put some red on there. And what that did, this one was still drying. So he just put some red here and took a float, closed his eyes, and made some designs. Actually, I looked at it the next day. I thought, dang, I should have done that with everything. But it's still not too late. But guys, I don't want to go there. It's done. What we've done here, this is a veneer. That's done. I don't want to redo it. And let's see. Another question. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the old block and the brick. Now, this is a question that is about as old as the hills, and me and some engineers disagree on this. Now, okay, if you're going over, a lot of people call it, they say, Kirk, I've got a cinder block wall, and I want to wire it with stucco netting or put some metal 3.4 mesh on it. Which one do you use? I said, none. That's defeating the purpose. Putting stucco netting on a cinder block wall is not stronger. In fact, it'll destroy your mechanical bond. What's a mechanical bond? And people ask me this all the time. A mechanical bond, say for example, you have your cinder block, for example. What you want to do is you want a natural bonding agent. And what's a natural bonding agent? We call it a mechanical bond in plastering terms. And how you achieve that is you take your garden hose, you put a nozzle on it, and you mist it. Depending on the temperature, if the temperature is 100 degrees, well, you're going to use a lot of water, and you're going to go way in advance. If it's 50 degrees, where it's kind of cold, you're not going to use that much water, but you definitely need water to achieve this mechanical bond. Mechanical bond is stronger than using 3.4 mesh wire or using any kind of stucco netting. Why? Because now you have your cinder block. Okay, the cinder block is naturally porous. That means water will penetrate a little bit. So your stucco, your new stucco, is naturally porous. So you get two porous materials. You apply it, you put enough pressure, put it on there, and they adhere by suction. That's how they adhere, guys. And that is the best mechanical bond you can get, bar none, with any product anywhere where they're too cementitious. So again, with brick, cinder block, or concrete, put enough on it. And people say, well, how do we know, Kirk, when we got a 1/2 inch? If you're not sure, add more, guys. Just make it a little bit thicker. What happens if you go less? When it rains, you see all the grout lines. So go at least a 1/2 inch, and you don't have to put it on a 1/2 inch. I could put on a solid inch, but that takes me a lot. Put 2 coats on back to back, 3/8 or 1/2 inch each, but get it thick enough so that when it rains, it won't bleed through or ghost through, and you'll see all of the grout lines. So that is called a skim coat. A skim coat is only designed for brick block, concrete block. You can call it concrete block, cinder block, same thing, or bricks, guys. This is not good for, say, a wood surface. But anyway, we're not talking about wood because that changes everything, guys. So I'm gonna get off of that. I shouldn't have started. With concrete blocks or cinder block, you do 1 coat. And people often say, well, I've got my scratch coat on. When is a good time to do the brown coat? And I say, whenever you want. You should have just did 1 coat. But with doing that 1 coat, you put it on thick enough, and then you come right back and you either float it with a hard rubber or a polyurethane float, and you've got a fine finish, or you can float it with a sponge float, and it'll bring the sand out, the aggregate out. Now that's answering the block question, the cinder block, because that's probably one of the questions I get asked the most. Whether it's inside or outside, no matter, guys. Put enough on there, and the stucco netting is not necessary. The 3.4 flat mesh is not necessary. It's just not necessary, guys. I've seen it done a couple times, and I've done it once myself, but that was on a 3-story brick wall. The bricks were falling apart, so we used stucco netting for that, and used like 5 boxes of roofing nails with the big heads to go between the grout and do it. That's very, very rare. Very rare. Anyway, I thought I'd point just some of those questions out because they're asked of us a lot. If you guys have other questions, put them on this video here. That way, put them on this video here where I was answering them. This way I'm not answering questions on 900 videos, but if you need it, I can do it. But I'm running out of time because it takes a long time to do a lot of question work. And I'd rather be out like Jason on the streets and working. So anyway, guys, that we thought we'd put a little completion of it because we did say we're quarantined and bored. Here's a question, guys. You know, quarantine and this epidemic, that's a scary thought. You're thinking, man, that's horrible. Who wants to think about that? Imagine, say, 10 or 15, 20 years from now, how many babies will be created by being quarantined because you got nothing better to do. I think that's just cool. Imagine someone saying, when were you born? Well, during this epidemic back in 2020, and going from there. So that's one good thing about staying at home. You got a lot of family time, guys. Anyhow, my name is Kirk. Jason is on the camera. And as usual, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
By the way, folks, my dad and I are now members of Amazon affiliates, so if you're looking to buy any of the plastering or construction tools you've seen in our videos and you want to support us in the process, you can check the links below our video, or you can go to our website and get them there. If you have any other questions for tools we don't have linked, email us direct and we'll respond to you then.
Once again, folks, we thank you for watching, and I really enjoy all your comments.
If you guys like this video, please click the like button down below, and also if you enjoy what we do, subscribe to our channel so we can keep making these videos for you.
My name is Kirk.
And Jay.
We thank you for watching, and from the entire Giordano family, we'll see you on the next one.